Hi everybody, my name is Chris Mazurk. I'm the owner at Mazloy, and today we're going to talk about making the perfect content. The perfect content uses something called the Skyscraper Technique. That's where we start with something basic, just like you do in school, where you have an outline or a draft and you work it into something better and better and better and better forever. So the Skyscraper Technique, the way it's usually used on the internet, is if you have a blog post that you want to write about, you'll Google it and you'll find somebody who's already written that blog post, and you'll take what they've done, make an outline, get all the content, get all the ideas, and write something 50% better. The logic behind that is Google has already shown interest in what they've ranked at the top, and they've shown interest because actual human beings are clicking on that and staying on that page and all that kind of stuff. So if you use that as the example of what's working, then you're making a good bet. Another way to think about it is if you have a target and that target is 100 miles away and you have one cannonball and 50 bullets, shoot those bullets first and then shoot that cannonball when you're a little more confident about where that target actually is as it relates to the calibration of your gun. With the Skyscraper Technique, you can have more confidence that the time you're going to spend writing that blog post or creating that content is going to be worthwhile. So that's what the Skyscraper Technique is in a nutshell. And that's kind of the key for how we're going to create perfect content. So now that we know what that is, let's talk about research. Beginning of perfect content is always going to be research. You want to make sure that you're using tools to try to get an idea of what words and what terms people are actually searching for. One tool that I love that's free is ubersuggest.com. You can go there and you can type in whatever it is that you're going to write a blog post about. Let's say maybe you type in Skyscraper Technique, and then you're going to get a bunch of values back. What I always recommend looking at is first and foremost the trend line. It's going to show you the month over month results of search volume related to that term, and you want to make sure it's not just diving down. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it grows. Sometimes it's flat. Just make sure it's not diving down. The next thing that we want to look at is the average search volume in the past month. And you want to make sure that it's adequate related to how niche your company is or how niche your message is. So if you're making a product that's super specific, let's say it's collars for Maine Coon cats or something like that, as opposed to just collars for cats, the audience is going to be a lot smaller for those Maine Coon cats. So maybe the search volume that you're looking at as a threshold is anything over 200 searches per month. You're going to say is acceptable, but collars for cats, maybe anything over 5,000 searches per month is your baseline for what's acceptable. So that's the next thing that you're going to look at. After you look at the search volume, what you're going to look at is the keyword difficulty. Things can get a little tricky here, so I'm going to give you the simple version and then the more complicated advanced version. So keyword difficulty is a number between 1 and 100, and if you subtract that keyword difficulty number by 100, it gives you a general idea of how likely you are to rank for the term that you're targeting. So if we're targeting Skyscraper Technique and the keyword difficulty is 50, then it's a coin flip. There's a 50% chance, all things being equal, that you can rank for that term. If the keyword difficulty score is 25, then you have a 75% chance. If it's 75, then you have a 25% chance. So in general, most companies should not target anything with a keyword difficulty above 50. That's the simple technique. So if it's 50 or above, it's not great. However, the more advanced technique is if you know your website's domain authority, which I'll talk about in a second, then what you want to do is take your domain authority and limit the keyword difficulty to no more than 15 above your domain authority. So let me tell you what domain authority is really quick. Domain authority is a number that was created by Moz.com, which is an authority on all things SEO. And that domain authority puts together a whole bunch of different factors to determine how valuable Google feels like your website is. So it's a number between 1 and 100, and a lot of businesses are in like the 10 to 20 range. just to give you an example, like Facebook is like 95 or something like that. I've never seen a perfect 100. So if you can get anywhere at or around like the 30 to 40 range, you're doing a really good job for most small businesses. Another side note, one of the biggest influencers of domain authority is backlinks, legitimate backlinks to your website from companies with a higher domain authority than yours. So how can you find your domain authority? Well, the easiest way is in the Chrome browser, Google Chrome browser. You can download an extension from Moz.com that is called the Moz bar. And once you do that, you can get your domain authority on any website you're on. So back to Ubersuggest and the keyword research that you're doing. If your website has a domain authority of 15, you want to make sure that the keyword difficulty you're targeting is no greater than 30. So that maximum keyword difficulty should be 30 because it's 15 more than 15. So you're not targeting 50 anymore, it's 30. If your keyword difficulty is 7, your maximum target should be 22. Brand new websites with no domain authority shouldn't be targeting anything higher than 15, for example. And if your domain authority is 50, heck, target 65, or you can go a little higher than that. But anyway, that just gives you a general range of what to target with that keyword difficulty metric. The final thing that you should look at is the price per click. That's a metric that's related to pay-per-click. So when people are buying ads in Google AdWords, and that's not what we're doing. We're talking SEO right now. We're creating blogs, we're creating content for your website, but it's still good to look at the pay-per-click number, the cost that people are paying per click, so you can see if there's buyer intent behind the term. So if you see a term and you type in Skyscraper Technique and it says like 10 cents is what people are paying to get that term in Google AdWords, then it's probably not something that companies have associated with actual buyers. It might be more associated with people that are just researching things. There could be ample search volume and low cost per click. That happens often. So you want to make sure that you're seeing numbers that are reasonable to you. So usually I look at anything $1 or higher. A lot of times I'll see $3, $10, $12, $20. So that's kind of what you want to be looking for, that higher number to show that whatever that term is, people are buying when they click on that. So that's keyword research made easy using Ubersuggest. There are a bunch of other tools out there. There's Hrefs, there's KW Finder, there's, you name it. Everybody's got a different tool, but Ubersuggest is free. It's a little slower than some of the other ones, but the data is in general the same data they're using at all the expensive places. Now that we've got the research made, let's talk about your first draft. So again, I definitely recommend creating an outline. Right now, I'm working off a rough outline on this, my first draft of this content piece of making the perfect video. So just put together an outline for yourself. I'm looking at 6 bullet points on my iPad teleprompter that I've got set up in front of me. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but we're starting with a general idea of what we're going to talk about, and then we're just going to create a video, just like I'm doing right now. We're going to create a video and talk to these things that ideally we have some knowledge authority in. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that video, which is usually going to be about 3 to 6 minutes long, and you're going to submit it for captions from rev.com, R-E-V. Why captions? First and foremost, you're going to be paying about $1 a minute to get those captions back. So 3 to 6 minutes is going to be $3 to $6. And that's going to result in about 300 to 600 words. It's usually about 100 words per minute. But what we want to do is leverage this content that we're creating in as many different places as possible. So we're going to take this video that we're making and put it on YouTube. And while YouTube automatically creates captions, they're created, automatically by machine, and they're not perfect. If you pay the $1 a minute for the captions from rev.com, they're actually processed first by a machine and then by a human, and the quality goes up from like 80% accuracy to like 99% accuracy. So it's worth the money. And best yet, you can take those captions and export them as just plain text and use that as the basis for your blog post. And that's what we're going to do. That's our first draft for the content. So the first thing I want you to do is get to that point where you got your video, you've done your research, you've got your transcript, you've got all the different text for your content, and use that to make a whole bunch of different blog posts. Go crazy. You're gonna maybe use WordPress, maybe some plugins like Yoast SEO. There's a bunch of different cool ones out there, but make a bunch of content. That's critical. And it's gonna take a little while, but you're gonna wanna have Google Analytics hooked up, and you're gonna wanna look and see what content is actually engaging your audience. So let's say after a month or two, you start to identify that the blog post on the skyscraper technique is actually working, and the blog post on the cat collars is actually working, but Maine Coon cat collars isn't getting anybody at all. Well, now you know skyscraper technique, and now you know that those bullets are hitting the target, so you can start launching cannonballs. So that's where things get fun, and that's where we can start to perfect our content. So the easiest way to do that with Google Analytics as it stands right now is go to the setting on the left column that says acquisition, go to where it says organic search, probably set the time span to the last 30 to 90 days, click on the section that says organic search, and then you can click on landing page, and it'll actually show you what landing page, what the URL of the landing page was, and that's how you can find where you're getting the traffic. And then you're just going to want to look at the users, the user count for each page. If things are all equal, you can start looking at other stuff, but that'll get you there 90% of the time. Now that you've created your outline, you've recorded your video, you've turned your transcript into a blog post, you've figured out which ones are actually working, there was research involved, all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to double down on skyscraper technique because we know that that's getting engagement from people. What I want you to do at this point is make an outline of all the things that you actually said. There's 6 bullet points in my outline, but I guarantee if I went back and looked at this thing, I probably have 20 different bullet points. So I want you to make a brand new outline. I want you to also do some research on the internet for the other articles on skyscraper technique that come in when you type it in on Google, and find out what other things they're talking about in their blog posts. And I want you to add those to your outline. And finally, I want you to take a couple minutes to think, how can I make this even better and add even more stuff to your outline? I want you to end up with a big, high quality outline for this brand new post that we're going to create on the skyscraper technique. What we're going to be targeting is around 1,500 words, which is going to be around 15 minutes. That's about the sweet spot for YouTube, and that's where Google really starts to take notice. The caveat to that is if you see your competitors, the people that are hitting skyscraper technique, for example, blog posts that are at number 1, and they've got like a 6,000 word blog post, guess what? You have to hit it like 9,000 words. You have to go 50% higher. Now that you've got your outline for the 15-minute blog post that you're gonna do, now that you can start doing exactly what I'm doing right now, but with a brand new longer outline, and we're just creating a bigger blog post at that point. So the final piece that you need to kind of keep in mind is when you go back and double down on your blog post, now is when you want to hire the graphic designers to put together your infographics and your comparison charts and the other media that's going to actually engage people. Remember to take that video that you recorded, slap it on the page. You just want to be investing at that point in time on your content because now you've started to prove that it can work. And that's how you make the perfect content. And it starts out really easy, doesn't take too much of your time, and most importantly, it's calculated, it's strategic. You're not just throwing, time out into nowhere. You're putting time where you've proven that there can be some value. Thanks again. I'm Chris Mazurk. I'm the owner at Mazloy, convenient marketing so you can have fun.